What if everything we thought we knew about money was just a tiny sliver of a much grander reality? Like, what if value wasn't about scarcity, gold or dollars, but about the very flow of life itself, from our thoughts maybe to the sun's energy? Today we're taking a deep dive into this really paradigm-shifting white paper. It's called Coherence Economics, Currency as Resonant Current. And look, this isn't just about some new crypto coin. It's talking about a radical redefinition of value as a dynamic field expression. Our mission really is to unpack this incredible vision. We'll explore how this framework suggests currency is a coherence current, a structured flow of meaning that could honestly reshape our understanding of wealth, contribution, maybe even consciousness itself. So get ready. This might challenge some deep assumptions about what money is. Okay, let's unpack this. Coherence economics. I mean, it sounds a bit like science fiction, right?
It does have that feel initially.
But it starts with a premise that's just fundamentally different from how we usually think about money. So at its core, what's the paper really saying about value?
Well, what's really fascinating is how it flips the script on value. Instead of money being this external thing based on scarcity like gold or a government promise,
Right.
It proposes that value is the expression of structured coherence. And currency, that's the field modulation of that coherence within a system.
Field modulation.
Yeah, so think of it less like a dollar bill representing a promise and more like a signal representing the actual quality or health or alignment of a system. Like the coherence of an ecosystem maybe, or the focus of a community.
Okay, so it's not just a neutral token for exchange. They're calling it something alive, a dynamic field-based structure.
Exactly.
They even say value is coherence in motion. That sounds profound. But what does it mean for how value gets generated? Is it not just about making things anymore?
You've got it. In this model, coherence itself is the key thing. It's the fundamental economic invariant. Meaning the core constant. It's the degree to which information, energy, intent, structure, how well they all align. Value arises when that coherence is, produced or maintained or shared. So currency then becomes a kind of projected signal of that underlying coherence, encoded somehow into a transferable form. They argue, basically, that any real currency has to link back to some kind of coherence field interaction.
So it's like instead of a factory producing goods, a harmonious interaction produces wealth.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Okay, so if that's the big picture of value, how does this coherence actually move? This is where the paper talks about currents as value flow, right? That sounds really interesting. What kind of currents could possibly become currency?
Right. Well, just like ocean currents move energy, the paper suggests economic currents move structured coherence. And the examples they give are pretty mind-bending.
Like what?
Well, they talk about things like emotional currents. Imagine, the collective mood of a group actually influencing spending or investment, almost like a community's emotional health becoming tradable.
Wow.
Or energetic currents linking directly to renewable value. Solar credits are a good example. The actual capture and flow of solar energy is the basis of the currency.
Okay, that one I can sort of grasp.
Then there's cognitive currents rewarding deep thought, learning, innovation, maybe through something like cognitive capital credits.
Rewarding thinking.
Yeah. And social currents representing trust, reputation, shared goals. Perhaps through repu-coins.
Yeah.
You're standing in a community having direct value.
So currency isn't just capital sitting there. It's this field-amplified current made understandable through, what was it, modulation and tokenization?
Exactly. That's the core idea.
That's a huge mental shift from, dollars and cents. But wait, if you have emotional currents and solar currents and thought currents, how could we possibly manage all these different kinds of value? Our system uses one main currency per country.
Right.
But this framework talks about value plurality, something called multi-layer currency fields, or MCFs. So multiple currencies all existing together, tuned to different coherence fields. How does that work? What are these layers?
Yeah, the MCFs are central. The paper defines 4 core layers nested within each other. Each represents a different kind of coherence, and so a different form of value.
Okay.
Layer 1 is the physical energetic currency fields. This is grounded in matter energy organization. So think solar credits, again, tied to actual captured energy.
Right, tangible stuff.
Or carbon offset tokens rewarding ecological restoration. You're literally valuing a healthier planet.
Yeah.
Then layer 2 gets more biological.
Okay.
Biological cognitive currency fields. This is about health, genetics, emotional regulation, intellectual output. This is where you might find cognitive capital credits for knowledge work, or maybe mental health tokens generated by practices improving well-being.
Mental health tokens.
Oh. Then layer 3 is social symbolic currency fields. This is based on trust, reputation, cultural meaning. Things like repu-coins, where reputation is currency, or Artophius creative works, fractionalized and traded.
Art as currency, okay.
And the deepest layer, layer 4, is quantum intentional currency fields. This is based on field phase integrity, intention, consciousness, quantum coherence. Really cutting-edge stuff.
Quantum.
Yeah, concepts like quantum consciousness coins or dream exchange tokens.
Wait, back up. Dream exchange tokens, you mean my dreams could become a source of value? My brain activity, my health? How would these deeply personal things even be measured or, integrated? That seems like a huge leap.
It is a leap, conceptually, but the paper argues these layers aren't separate silos. They resonantly couple.
Resonantly couple.
Meaning they interact and influence each other. They form integrated value chains. So, for instance, maybe the content of a dream layer 4, if it's particularly insightful or coherent, could be traded using tokens that also carry emotional weight from layer 2 and symbolic meaning from layer 3. It allows valuing subtle contributions like insights or intentions that our current system just completely ignores.
Valuing intentions, okay. But practically, with all these currencies tied to things like dreams or emotions, how would the system function day to day? The paper mentions decentralized coherence economies, or DCEs. And trust isn't institutional, it's resonant. What does that mean for just, buying something?
Right. Well, the idea is that value creation and exchange aren't controlled by central banks anymore. It's based on field participation.
Field participation.
Yeah, meaning you generate value directly by doing the coherence-producing activity, whether that's generating solar power or engaging in deep collaborative thought, or maybe even achieving a certain state of calm.
Okay.
Transactions are field authenticated, not validated by a bank, but maybe through coherence signals like biometric IDs, maybe even neural signatures, they suggest.
Neural signatures. Wow.
This allows for completely new economic models. They talk about dream markets or quantum consciousness trade networks, where the act of generating that specific coherence is the transaction.
Okay, my mind is slightly blown. And how do these currents, these coherent signals, get turned into something you can actually trade? Is that this resonant tokenization idea?
Exactly. Resonant tokenization is the key process there. It's the act of encoding that resonance, that coherence.
Encoding it how?
Think of it like taking that intangible quality, maybe your focused attention or a measurable physiological state like heart rate variability or even that insightful dream we talked about,
All right.
and translating it into a verifiable signal, maybe through advanced sensors, biometric data, neural interfaces. That signal then gets essentially stamped onto a digital token. It makes your internal state or your contribution to a field a potentially tradable asset.
So the token isn't just a number. It represents a quality.
Precisely. The paper defines a token not just by quantity, but by its resonant quality. They even describe different types. You might have stable tokens, like solar credits, tied to something relatively fixed.
Okay.
Flow tokens, whose value actually fluctuates with the real-time resonance of the field they represent.
So it changes constantly.
Potentially, yes. And even ephemeral tokens, like maybe some dream tokens that decay in value over time to encourage circulation or immediate use.
Decaying tokens.
Yes.
Fascinating. But governance, how on earth do you govern a system this fluid? They say it's not top-down, but field modulated. What does that even look like instead of, say, the Federal Reserve?
Yeah, it's a radical departure. It leads to what they call distributed coherence councils, or DCCs. They envision as these hybrid human AI nodes. Their job is to constantly monitor the coherence levels within the different currency fields.
Monitor coherence.
And based on that, they dynamically adjust exchange protocols, maybe interest rates, things like that. They aren't central banks. They're more like resonance stewards or field facilitators trying to keep the system flowing harmoniously.
So the system kind of regulates itself based on its own health.
That's the core concept, yeah. Field modulated governance.
And if coherence is the goal, does that mean ethics are baked in somehow? They mention ethical encapsulation?
Yes, that's a really key feature they propose. The idea is that the tokens themselves are designed to carry ethical rules within their code, their operational logic.
How would that work?
Well, for example, maybe a thoughtful consumption credit automatically increases slightly in value if you use it to buy locally sourced sustainable goods, a high-resonance ecological window, they might call it.
Ah, I see.
Or maybe it decays or loses value if used for something considered highly entropic or harmful, an entropy spike. The ethics are embedded in the currency's behavior. It also introduces this idea of coherent citizenship, where it's not just about having money, but your responsibility includes actively participating in maintaining the system's health, generating positive coherence. You shift from being a passive consumer to an active co-creator of value.
An active co-creator.
Yeah.
That changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay, this all still sounds incredibly futuristic, almost utopian maybe, but the paper actually points to early prototypes, right? Things already happening that hint at this.
It does, yeah. It's not purely theoretical. They profile several experiments.
What are they?
Well, things like solar index currency grids, communities actually tokenizing their solar energy production into, say, Solomid credits, units of clean energy traceable, used locally.
Okay, that feels somewhat grounded.
Then there are cognitive capital test beds, issuing cognitive capital credits that people earn through knowledge contributions or maybe even well-being, tracking via biometric data showing sustained focus or calm.
So focus becomes literally valuable.
Potentially, yes. And maybe the most out there are the quantum consciousness vaults, experiments issuing quantum consciousness coins, validated by things like entangled biometric rituals or specific brainwave patterns, quantum EEG phase lock metrics, basically trying to value moments of deep shared insight or consciousness.
Shared consciousness.
Wow.
Wow. And you mentioned dream exchanges earlier. They really talk about dream exchange tokens validated by neural signatures.
They do.
The paper says sleep becomes productive not for labor but for meaning. That's quite a statement. Could you expand on how a dream could actually generate a token?
It is profound. The concept is, imagine advanced biofeedback, maybe integrated into how we sleep. You wake up after a particularly, say, coherent or insightful dream, one that maybe solves a problem or brings emotional clarity. Your neural signatures during that specific REM cycle verify its unique quality or coherence. That verification automatically generates a dream exchange token.
And then what? You trade your dream.
Potentially, yes. The paper suggests these tokens could circulate in dream marketplaces. Maybe artists seek them for inspiration, innovators for problem-solving insights. Perhaps people seeking specific emotional states could acquire tokens associated with those feelings. It reframes sleep completely, not just rest, but a potential source of meaning, insight, and yeah, even economic value.
That's really something else. So what kind of timeline are we looking at for this? Is this centuries away or?
Well, the paper makes some bold predictions. They forecast that by 2030, we could see coherence tokens used in systems involving, say, at least 10 million people.
10 million. Okay.
By 2040, they estimate these dream token economies alone could potentially be valued over $100 billion.
Wow.
And the ultimate vision, a fully scaled planetary coherence economic stack by 2050, maybe even leading to interplanetary coherence exchange protocols eventually.
Interplanetary. Okay, they're thinking big.
They definitely are. It's presented not just as theory, but as a potential roadmap.
So this next part, I think, really brings it home. The paper says, the economy is no longer external to the self. It becomes a field reflection of the living coherence of beings. That sounds intense. What does it mean for our own bodies, our minds?
Yeah, this is what they term a fundamental ontological shift. Basically, it means our actual state of being physical, mental, emotional becomes a direct source of value, not just what we own externally.
How so?
Well, our body's signals heart rate variability showing calm, breath coherence showing focus could generate biofeedback tokens or mindful spending points.
So being calm could literally pay.
In this model, potentially, yes. Our genetic expression, if linked to healing or specific cognitive traits, could be indexed into genetic wealth units. Even our emotional states generating compassion, clarity could theoretically be recognized and valued, perhaps as emotional impact coins.
So my mental wellness could be a primary measure of wealth.
Yeah.
And things we normally don't value economically, like rest or silence or contemplation, they become incentivized.
That's the implication. The paper says we no longer earn money through dissonance, we generate wealth through coherence. It flips the whole script on productivity and value.
It really does. But I have to ask, for a lot of people, the idea of their brain waves or emotions being turned into tokens might sound, well, a bit creepy, intrusive. Does the paper address privacy? ethics around this?
That's a absolutely crucial point. And yes, the paper stresses that privacy and individual agency are non-negotiable.
How?
They envision these coherent signals, your heart rate data, your brain patterns, as fundamentally self-sovereign. You own your data, you control it. Explicit consent would be needed for any kind of tokenization or exchange.
Okay, that's important.
And that ethical encapsulation we talked about, it's designed precisely to prevent misuse. The protocols themselves would aim to reward positive collective coherence and actively disincentivize manipulation or exploitation. The goal, as presented, to empower people to recognize and use their own innate coherence, not to surveil or control them.
Okay, empowerment, not surveillance. That framing helps. Now, this framework also redefines legacy, doesn't it? It says it's not about accumulating stuff, but about the transmission of coherence fields across time. What does that mean?
Exactly. Intergenerational wealth, in this view, isn't primarily about passing down money or property. It's about preserving and amplifying these resonant structures, biological health, cultural knowledge, cognitive skills, ecological stewardship, things that foster flourishing across generations.
So it's less about the assets in a will.
And more about what continues to resonate, what ripples forward through time. The paper actually calls it a participatory process. The recipients, the next generation, need to sort of tune into or resonate with that legacy field and actively contribute to keeping it alive and growing.
That's a beautiful way to think about it, like handing down a vibration, not just a bank account. So if my grandparents passed down wisdom or strong family values or even just really powerful stories in this system, that could be seen as inheriting narrative memory tokens or skill imprint credits. The paper says inheritance is not possession, but entrainment.
Like tuning forks.
Yes, that captures the essence perfectly. It's about inheriting these patterns, these resonant structures, and then actively participating in their continuation, amplifying them. Legacy isn't just what's left behind materially, but as they put it, what continues to resonate after you've become invisible. It's about engaging with that coherence, keeping it vibrant.
Wow. Okay. So after going through all of this, what does it really mean for us listening right now? We've explored this potential future where currency is a living coherence current, where value comes from resonance, physical, biological, cognitive, even quantum, where our inner space, our trust, our energy, maybe even our dreams could be sources of wealth. It paints a picture of, well, maybe the world after scarcity, as they put it, where wealth isn't just held, it's harmonized. Work isn't extraction, it's cultivating resonance. Freedom isn't just choice, it's congruence, alignment.
Yeah. The paper ends with that powerful line. We have stopped chasing wealth. We've become it. So the question for you listening is, what stands out to you from all this? How might your life, your contributions, look different in a world where value is measured by coherence? Maybe think about the forms of coherence you already generate or maintain in your own life. Through your work, your relationships, your mindfulness, your creativity. How might those very things contribute to a future where value flows? Not like static capital, but like a living current. Something to chew on.